Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to another evening with the Rotten Report. My very special guest today, I'm excited to welcome, is Mr. Fright Rags himself, Ben Scrivens, and I'm going to go ahead and add him now, if I may. Let's see if you'll accept my.
Hey, that
There
worked.
it is. Hello, Ben.
Hey, man, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Tired. Doing well, but tired.
I hear that. Long day at the office, I hear.
Yeah, it was a long one today, but all good.
Good. At least it's almost the weekend, right?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. We got our terror tweet that we always do on Friday nights tomorrow night, so that'll be fun, and got some football to watch this weekend, so that'll be
Very
good.
good. Um, so we got some people watching, and for those
Mhm.
who don't know, Fright Rags is a company who sells really cool, badass horror shirts. They sell shirts. They sell hats. They sell collectibles now. They sell a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
They're one of the, in my opinion, top merchants in the horror garb game right
thanks, man.
for
Appreciate it.
has been for since 2003.
Yep.
It all started.
That'll be 18 years this year.
That's amazing. So let me know. Tell me what gave you the idea to start Fright Rags?
It was kind of a confluence of things. Kind of what happened was, I was kind of bored at the time with my job. I had a good job as a graphic designer, but I was just a little like, I don't know, kind of bored at what I was doing. I was a graphic designer. I actually worked at a great small company that we were doing laptop bags, which were awesome. But it just, when you're doing the same thing over and over again in the same space, I just wanted to do something different. And at the time, it was my girlfriend and I were living together. We had an apartment. We hadn't gotten married yet or had kids or a house and all that stuff. So we had more time on our hands. And I just always wanted to create something. And so I'd always been, hey, Steve, what's up? I just saw Steve join. I just, I don't know. I always wanted to create something. So I was thinking, what could I do? And I was always on these forums and stuff. This is way before Facebook and MySpace and all that. And I liked replicas like hockey masks and Michael Myers masks and stuff like that. But I couldn't do any of that. So I thought, well, I don't have any horror T-shirts. As much as I love horror movies, and I've always loved T-shirts growing up. Well, I've always liked quirky T-shirts growing up. Like I was always the one wearing some weird shirt that I found somewhere, or when I went on vacation, I would always want to get like the perfect shirt for me and stuff. So I don't have any horror shirts. Maybe I should make shirts based on horror stuff because I love horror and I love weird shirts. So I thought of this idea. I was coming up with some ideas in my spare time, and I came up with the what would Jesus do was big at the time. So I came up to what would Jason do with the hockey mask, and I had looked all over, and it didn't look like anybody had ever done it at the time, and I couldn't find any evidence of that. So I thought that would be kind of funny, and I knew, at the time Rotten Cotton was around, and they were definitely the ones, the horror shirt. I mean, that was really the only horror shirt company. And I liked what they did, but it wasn't stuff that I would necessarily wear myself. So I wanted to create something a little bit more, maybe some humor, some parody, other things.
Yeah, something
So
different.
anyway, I was on my good friend. Well, he became my good friend Justin Mabry, who started Night Owl Forums and went on to start Trick or Treat Studios. He and I used to talk all the time. He's like, "Why don't you post some of that stuff on the message board?" Because I was a member there, and I thought that would have been awesome. So I did, and people were really interested in it. They liked it, and that I was like, oh my god, I should start something then. I'd never done anything like that before, so I literally over the course of a weekend I came up with a name, Fright Rags. I thought that would work, and I got a domain name, and I coded a website and figured out how to get PayPal attached to it, and I ordered $600 worth of T-shirts, which at the time my girlfriend, now wife, was like, "What are you doing? We're planning a wedding," and I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm gonna start, maybe start something. I don't know. I didn't even know if I was gonna make any money off this stuff. I just thought I should try to do this, and honestly, that was the beginning. And I don't know, it's just been going ever since.
Kind of a shot in the dark, and look where you are now.
Yeah, yeah,
That's.
exactly.
I remember watching your. You have some videos on your YouTube page where you were
Mhm.
talking about kind of the origins, like how it started, where like how you start when you were printing, like because you said you work at a. I forget what you said. You worked at a. What your job was at the time when you first started.
Yeah, it was so I worked the job that I had, it was a small laptop bag company, and we
Right.
designed bags and for laptops and cameras, and I was like the third person hired on, so I didn't design the bags themselves, but I did the product photography, I helped with the website and whatever. Um but we had a local screen printer come in, and I just ordered my first batch of shirts online, and again, I spent way too much money, um which I didn't realize, at the time. But we had a screen printer who was right around the corner from us, from our shop, come in because we were going to hire him to do some screen printing in our bags. And I pulled him aside. I was like, "Hey, do you do T-shirts?" He's like, "Yeah, I sure do." And I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to get your name or number or whatever." So again, he was right around the corner from our office, and I used him. He became our printer from the second time I ever did shirts. So that was in 2003, probably October, all the way through 2008. He was printing our shirts right out of his garage, and I would go. At the time, I was still working full time. I worked full time until at that same job until 2008. So I uh, I would go over to his house like 2 or 3 times a week to pick up shirts and stuff. I would even help him print once in a while. It was interesting.
I remember you were saying like you would have orders, and like when you were first starting out, you would have to you would ship them from your workplace.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, I for the first several years, I did everything all on my own. So aside from the actual printing, I shipped everything. I was customer service. I warehoused everything in my house, and it was a whole thing. So I spent a lot of my spare time writing emails, filling orders, working on design stuff. And I would pack all the orders. I'd get up really early or stay up really late or both, and I'd pack all the orders and I'd lug them to my office because I couldn't leave them outside my house, just to be picked up by my carrier. So I would lug them. My boss was gracious enough to let me bring the orders in, so they were already packaged and I had the labels on them, and I'd leave them on at our front door at our office. And my boss would come in every morning, and sometimes the bags just got bigger and bigger, and he's like, "Wow, had a good night last night." I'm like, "Yeah, it was a pretty good order night or whatever." And then my lunch breaks, I would spend my hour at lunch in line at the post office filling out international forms, customs forms, by hand at the time, just so I could get those orders shipped out. So it was a process. And in 2005 and 2006, we uh, got some shirts in the Hot Topic, which was amazing. But that's a huge undertaking for anybody who doesn't know. I mean, you have to print the shirts, fold them. You have to put the price tags on them. They don't do that. You have to
Really?
you have to put the size stickers on them. You have to box them in a specific way. There's a literally 60-page manual you have to read to do this. And again, for most
Wow.
companies, they handle this all the time. That's what they do. I was one person in my house, and they ordered, the first order was 2,000 shirts. And then the next couple orders were 3,000 shirts each that they came within 2 months of each other. And they want those in 4 to 5 weeks. Like
Oh,
they don't, that's how much time you get. So that was crazy. But what I was bringing that up is because we had to get a tractor trailer to come pick them up. There was a whole freight thing, a whole deal. I couldn't have that come to my house. I had no room for any of this. I mean, I had old pictures of my old house full of just boxes of shirts in the living room or whatever while we were trying to get this done, folding them and everything. And my boss was gracious enough for me to come in on the weekends and package things up. And I remember one day, tractor trailer was coming down our driveway. He's like, "Oh, what shipment's this? We expecting something or whatever?" And I'm like, "No, that's for me. I've got like 3 pallets of shirts to going out." And he's like, "Oh." So he was always very supportive though.
that's great. I mean, it's great to have a boss that's supportive of your endeavors outside of your regular job and everything.
Yeah, he was, and he's still a friend of mine today, in fact, he and I just spoke. That company is no longer, he sold the company, but he works at another place as a manager of marketing at this other larger company. But we still talk, and he's, it to see a company literally on the ground level. I mean, it was the owner, the office manager, and me for a while. I mean, the office manager would pack the orders too, and then we eventually got a little bit bigger. But that 5 years was pretty interesting because it was pretty transparent of what was going on in the business, and I could glean a lot from that, which was cool.
Yeah. So when did you finally move Fright Rags into more of a where it wasn't just you do it, like where you finally developed like a crew and got your own warehouse and everything? When it started to get bigger, I should say.
So early 2008, it was I was making this transition. I had my daughter in late 2006, and I was thinking, how could I transition this to full time? And so I basically what I did to do that is I didn't know if I could, and I wasn't paying myself any money. All the money was going into a separate account for business, but I wasn't paying myself personally out of it. It was just money to use for the business. So what I did is I created a bank account. It was this online savings, and at the time, this was crazy. They were giving away 5% interest, which was amazing. It was separate from all of my personal accounts and anything else, but it was a separate account. And I thought, well, if I take money out every week, the same amount that I make from my job, if I take that out of my Fright Rags account and put it into the savings account automatically, it happens automatically. I don't have to think about it. I don't want to look at it. Let's see what happens. Am I going to run out of money with Fright Rags money to not be able to send shirts out or make new shirts or whatever? I don't know. But if it works, then I know I can pay myself a living wage. So I did that. I kind of set it and forget it. And within 4 or 5 months, I realized nothing changed for me in terms of the business. And I also had, 5 months of income in a savings account untouched, making 5% interest, which I was like, okay, that's a nice cushion, because, quitting your job to do your own thing is scary.
Yeah.
So that gave me the confidence to move on. Now, at the time, I was still scared, so I decided to take a part-time job as a graphic designer at a firm downtown here in Rochester, New York. And so at the time, I knew I needed some help. So my best friend from when I was a kid, he was looking for work. He had a part-time job. I said, listen, I'm working, it was like 4 or 5 hours a day. Can you come over to my house and pack these orders up for me while I work? And then when I come home, I can, do my other stuff for the business. So that was the first time I ever had an employee or anything. That was my best friend, and I trusted him because he was my best friend, so he could come to my house. So he started in 2008, early 2008. And then a year later, we were expecting my son, and we realized, I should probably get an office space. Now we've got 2 kids and the whole thing. So we moved into this really small office. It was in like this doctor's building. It was hilarious because it was like chiropractor. I think there was like a sex therapist down the hall from us.
Oh, wow.
It was like, and then us, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And it was small, but we were only there for a year. After 2 months, we had to add a room next to us onto our lease because we were growing out of it. And after the year was up, we had to move. So in 2010, we moved into a bigger space, which we were there for 3 years. And then in 2013, we moved into where we are now, which is the old city morgue. And, in 2009, when my son was born, a friend of mine who I'd met kind of through the business, my friend Christy, who was local, she became customer service. And then we just started adding people organically. And everybody that's on our team now has been added in this interesting organic way. I would meet somebody, or they would order from us, be like, oh, you're in Rochester, that's cool. Or we would talk or hang out at movies, whatever. And, oh, I kind of need help doing this. Would you mind helping? And next thing you know, they're working more hours than they're full time, So it's been very organic. I'm incredibly blessed because the people I have right now are like, I couldn't do any of this without them. I mean, it really is a team effort. And these people are hardcore dedicated to this company. And when you have amazing people like that, it's about focusing the energy as opposed to trying to motivate people. We're a small team, we're 8 people, so it's not like we're some major company, huge, corporation conglomerate thing. And if you have to like try to motivate somebody to do their job, that's draining. You know what I mean? So everyone is so ready and willing to chip in 150%. So incredibly blessed.
Yeah, your team's definitely on it, because like sometimes back when things were less hectic with the mail system, I would order something and then they would ship that day, and I would sometimes get it within the next day or the day after.
Yeah.
I live in Indiana, so I guess it's not that far from New. I mean, it's a little bit of a trek from New York, but I mean, just to think that I order something and like it comes literally a day and a half or so later, it's just like that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Heather and Jess are on it when it comes to shipping stuff. We do really pride ourselves in, you know, customer service, obviously, but just getting things out as quickly as possible. And, sometimes it's hard because, yesterday we had a really great release with Evil Dead, but in order to ship things out right away, you have to have stock. And in order to have stock, you have to essentially guess how many you're going to need. And that's always a crapshoot. If anybody has a crystal ball to tell me exactly how many to order, please. And so, yesterday we started selling out of sizes on shirts like within, less than an hour. So we had to put those things on pre-order, which ends up now pushing the orders back. And most people understand that, but I would rather do that when we can to allow more people to order so that they get it and don't feel like they missed out. Some cases it doesn't work out that way, unfortunately, but we do try to do it wherever we can.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to touch on, was the Evil Dead collection. I know I was really excited for the long sleeve. I saw that design. Of course, that has the classic poster, but obviously with the red, and then it had the writings on the arms and everything.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna. So that one is listed as pre-ordered. It says shipping.
Yeah, we actually made quite a few of those, and we thought, hey, this is, either the buzz seemed pretty good on it when we teased it. We thought it'd be pretty popular, so we're like, all right, let's make more than we would normally make of something like this. And it sold out. Like, we were down to like just literally a couple of them left. I think within an hour to an hour and a half. So we're like, we got to put it back on pre-order to let people know that they can keep ordering it. So and we've since sold plenty more of those, and it's still going. So yeah. So right now, and that's why we try to do our best. We put the shipping underneath the title, and we try to just make sure people are informed. It's on, and it carries over to checkout, and it carries over to the order confirmation email. So if people have any questions, they can see, oh, this is shipping this date.
I mean, that's great to have, at least, like, because like, hey, the first wave is sold out. Let's make sure people still have a chance to get it. Well, some companies don't do that. They have one wave and that's it. And I think that's great to have multiple waves, I guess, when it comes to shipments and products and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we try. I mean, it's again, it's not always perfect, clearly, and we don't always get it right, but we always listen to people, and we're always trying to make sure that we're doing our best to accommodate everyone who wants to order.
Yeah. Take a second away from. I want to congratulate you on a successful 2020, despite all the madness.
Yeah.
You guys released some really cool products last year. I mean, obviously, I have the Halloween.
Oh yeah, I see it.
I'm really close to wanting to open it, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Like, I really like, if I would have gotten two, I definitely would have. But like with one, I'm just like, I can't. I want to do it, but as soon as I open that shrink wrap, I'm gonna hate myself. But
well, I'll tell you, just so you know, you'll have a chance to get another one.
Oh yeah.
We haven't announced this too much, but we will be releasing a second edition of it. It will be the same but different, because we really wanted to respect the original wave, because that did sell out so quickly, and we did limit them. We did want to respect that, so we're not just reissuing the same exact thing. But what will be is the same, but the characters colors will be flipped. So what is in your package that's orange will be black, and vice versa.
Oh, that's cool.
So it still retains the different, and the package will say second edition or something to that effect. So again, this is to allow the people that missed out on the first one to at least get it, but we also wanted to retain the specialness of the first one, because you know how it is. Listen, you get online, and you did this too, and these sold out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're ready, and we want to make sure those people are rewarded, because I've done that too, where you order something and you're quick and you feel great about it, you got it, it's that high, and then, oh, they're just putting it out again. I thought that was unique, you know. And listen, we didn't expect such a quick sellout. We did not expect it at all. I know some people are like, why didn't you just make more? How could you have not made more? I don't know. This is the first time we've ever done this. We literally don't know. So it's just hard, right? So we thought, well, if we reissue it but swap the colors, those who really truly wanted that set to open and play with or whatever can have that opportunity, you know. And I don't want to see people paying. I've seen them for $150 on eBay, and I'm like, please, like, this is not. We don't want that to happen. So I know we can't stop it, but we're just really trying to make it special, but also make, you know, people still be able to order it. So
yeah, and that's really awesome to hear, because I mean I'll definitely get the second set, and that'll be the one I open.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like, hey, it's a second printing. I mean, it's not the first, therefore it's like, hey.
And you still have the same experience. It'll have the map. You can still, you know, play with them and set them up. It's just that the colors will be swapped. That's all. The sculpts will be the same, so you're not missing anything really. It's just different, you know.
Yeah. So with the Nanoforce stuff, are you guys working on any other sets?
So we have definitely one Nanoforce coming out this year. We have not announced it yet, but it is for, let me just say, it's for a very classic, very popular classic movie.
That's hard to distinguish.
I know. But if you can think of one that has a lot of different characters in it, maybe ones that are not living, and it's kind of the night of those characters, you can kind of guess what it is.
You got me intrigued now.
So we've got that coming. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we're trying to, you know, that's probably going to be in the next few months. So we'll have something to announce, you know, soon enough, as we're almost done with January here. But we're just working. In fact, one of the things we're working on today, Joe, our amazing designer, just laid out the box artwork and stuff, and including a companion lunchbox that will be released at the same time.
Oh, really?
So that's literally, like, just before we get on here, I saw the final and I was like, oh, it still has to be approved and all that, but I was like, this is amazing. So I was totally blown away.
That'll be another lunchbox I'll have to have, because I do have the Halloween one.
Oh, good. Yeah, coming to you. Yeah.
So you said that'll be coming, the lunchbox. It's in the warehouse. It's been made. It's just, you're just waiting for them.
Yeah. So they've been made. They're all done. They've been packaged up for shipment at our factory. We had a shipping quote come over this week, which means we just have to sign off and all that. Once that gets through, it's just got to go on the boat, and then it takes a good 4 to 5 weeks to get over to California, and then it's got to be freighted from California to us in Rochester, which is across the country. So, and then we are working with our printer, who's right down the street from us. We work very closely with our t-shirt printer, and they're actually going to help do fulfillment for us, which they did for the Nanoforce. Because it is a lot, especially with these lunch boxes, as we have a lot of them. We couldn't do it just ourselves. It would cripple us to try to get those orders out and continue to release new things and keep that going. So it helps us to have a flexible capacity in that way.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine how many of those were, because it was a pre-order for a set. I forget how many days it was now.
It was a 5-day pre-order. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, we wanted to do that. Yeah.
I can't imagine the number of pre-orders you probably had on that one.
It exceeded my expectations. We had much like Nanoforce, we had a set amount that, when you do something like this with anything, really, t-shirts even, but especially something like these nanoforce or lunch boxes, what people maybe don't realize is there's a minimum amount we have to make, period. Whether or not we sell them, we have to make that many, and you have to base your demand on that. And not every property can sell through that many. It just doesn't happen. I mean, you would think there's some properties like that's amazingly great seller. Well, guess what? It didn't do well for us, at least. And so you do have to pick and choose, and it is a risk. So with the lunch boxes, we had committed to a certain number, but we decided to open it up for pre-order because we wanted to make sure we did allow enough people to get what they wanted. Again, Nanoforce, what happened with that? And it over exceeded my expectations. And we will continue to do more like that, where we have a pre-order window so we can at least gauge demand. Unfortunately, we can't just keep it up on the site forever and ever. It just causes a lot of logistical issues with order splitting and trying to put orders on hold. And there's a lot of back end stuff that we're still figuring out, so it's better for us to just say, hey, you've got 5 days to get your order in, and you 5 days, you don't have to be up at 10 in the morning and get right on there. You can do it whenever. You don't feel pressured. You just needed that in the 5 days. And if you missed it for whatever reason, we will most likely have extras afterward, but those will be limited because we just can't keep making these over and over again. So by nature, all of these items are going to be limited in some way.
Yeah.
And that's, because we otherwise we just can't keep churning them out. You know what I mean? It's a process.
Yeah, definitely. I think what really gripped me, obviously the artwork for the lunchbox itself, but the fact that it came with a thermos.
Yes,
that is awesome.
That was key. It was the thermos was absolute key, because and again, I'm not putting any other companies down or anybody else down, but I've seen lunchboxes made, based on horror movies, specifically, even popular ones. I've seen it different places, whether it's Target or some other smaller shops. And I look at them and I go, okay, I get it. You did a lunchbox, but this isn't the lunchbox I had growing up.
Yeah.
It's not embossed. It doesn't have that little edge around the side. It doesn't have the thermos. And, our partner in this, Joe from Fourth Castle, when he showed me what they do, I was like, yes, like that is what I want to do. And I have, let's do Halloween, let's do whatever we can do. So I'm ecstatic, because when I'm telling you, I got the sample. I got it back in, I don't remember, it was August maybe. It was shipped here to my house. And I remember opening it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like I was so giddy. Like, it was one thing to have it designed and see it in a 3D mock-up and stuff, but it was another thing to hold it. And, as a kid of the 80s, and I had my Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox, my He-Man lunchbox and stuff, it was, it was just incredible. So, it was to be such a, I don't know, it was so much fun to see it, and I knew other people would love it, and I cannot wait to get these out in people's hands because it's amazing.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be making a post, or well, obviously a post, but I might make I have a tripod now, so I'm excited. I'm
Nice.
using that.
Great.
My first interview, I was just sitting on my couch holding my phone, just like.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, hey, let's get a tripod. I mean, it was
There you go.
relatively cheap, so now I'm like, hey, I can start making actual videos now.
Mm-hmm.
And but you were talking about the lunch boxes, like the quality wise. It's like, yeah, you'd see these lunch boxes at Target, and it's like they're really almost cheaply made, it seems, compared to, like, I'm assuming what this one like will be like, quality.
Yeah, I mean, the quality on these are excellent. I'm thrilled. Again, when we do things, as much as humanly possible, we try to really obsess over details and make sure they're right. We don't want to just phone it in, as much as possible. We try to really pay attention to the little things. Even, we were just going over something on this, the new Nanoforce, and I was talking to Joe, our designer. I'm like, okay, I know this sounds weird because my brain's weird, but I just feel like we should do this and that because it feels like that. You just have these, and it's subjective,
Yeah.
clearly, but I don't know. We all do. We all of us when we're working on this stuff really do try to think of those things. So.
So now that it's 2021, I saw your preview video for all that's the previews of coming attractions, as you call
Mm-hmm.
them, on your email. For like the year, I saw that you're doing an Invisible Man line, I believe.
Yep.
I'm very interested to see the designs for that one, just because, well, like for the new issue of Horror Hound, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
still received. I'm so fed up with this mail system right now
Yeah.
because usually this, I mean, the issue's been out for probably a month now, maybe, and usually because I subscribe, I feel like I'm like one of the first ones to get it, and I still don't have it, and I've seen it in stores and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? I want to read this thing because it's
Yeah.
got that artwork is stellar for the Invisible Man.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
They they never cease to amaze me with the artwork for their covers. Like I've got a couple here, like the Candyman one, the one Nathan did himself. The 28 Days Later one was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because he was telling me about it when, obviously, when the whole pandemic started. He's like, I want to do like like a kind of a pandemic issue.
Mm-hmm.
He was like 28 Days Later. He did the cover, and it's like I could see that on a comic book cover.
Yeah.
That'd
No,
be
I
really.
did a great job. I've got every issue starting back from one. So yeah, I know.
So seeing as how conventions were basically non-existent last year, how did that affect you guys? Um,
The it didn't in terms of business, it didn't. And the reason is because while we only first of all, we only do a handful of shows a year. Of course, we do Horror Hound in Cincinnati and we do Monster Mania in New Jersey twice a year. And actually last year we were set to do Texas Frightmare. Um, but and they do great for us. Don't get me wrong; they're great shows. We always have a great time, and we do really well at those shows. But unlike a lot of my friends who travel to conventions almost every weekend of the year or most of the year, I have a lot of friends who have their companies that rely almost solely on these conventions. Those are the ones that I was really sad for, because for us, conventions are a fun thing to do, but they're not an integral part of our business. We can not do shows and be fine because we have, the vast, 99.9% of the business is done right through our website. So in some ways, it was actually kind of a relief because we do, especially with March and April last year, we had Horror Hound and we had Monster Mania, and then coming up in April, we had to get ready for Frightmare. And I was working on trying to figure out the displays for everything, and there's a lot of traveling involved. And a show for us, especially if we're driving to Frightmare, we would have flown to, but it's a these shows are. Horror Hound Cincinnati, that's a 9-hour drive for us. Monster Mania is 6 hours, so you got to come the day early, and you got to make sure you've prepped everything a few days before that. And then when you get home, you got to leave late because you got to leave the day after. And then you get home finally, that's a day that's gone. And then you got, and then you got to get stuff out of the trailer and have that all put back in the shelves. So it's like a week, and again, happy to do it because I love seeing people and hanging out with people. But I'll tell you, my personal schedule for the first 6 months of last year was like insane between the conventions, and I had a lot of other stuff going on with my daughter and a play and all these other great things. But I was like exhausted
yeah,
thinking about it, and I just thought it was interesting. Again, I do not wish. I wish this COVID thing would go away. It's eventually, and we'll get through it. I know, but and I don't wish to it happened. But at the same time, it was like, oh, I actually have some downtime here, or at least some time to, uh, you know, think about other things or do other things or, shift my time and my focus. So
yeah,
I listen, we will do shows again. I think more than likely it will be next year. I know there are ones already planned this year that we've already signed up for. We'll see if those actually happen. If they do, we may not be able to do them. I need to feel really comfortable for my staff and for myself to be going to these. So it's, we'll see. Obviously, there's a lot to see.
I mean, the future's up in the air. Who knows at
Yeah,
this point?
exactly. And I do look forward to doing it again. It's just, I will say, for me personally, it's because of everything else going on, it's been okay not to do them.
Yeah,
It's because I'm keeping busy with plenty of other things right now. So it's just shifting that focus.
yeah. I mean, keep it busy. I mean, that's generally. I mean, say you don't have cons, but I mean, at least staying busy is the number one thing because I mean, it keeps your mind off of everything else going on in the world.
Hmm.
Like me, I mean, I work third shift at a factory. I come
Yeah.
home. I generally sleep. Some days because my wife, she works. She's an auditor for a bank, but she's been home since from work since last March. I mean, she's working from home, and they do everything remotely.
Hmm.
So generally, before then, I would come home, sleep because we have a daughter, and she's 2 now.
Mm.
So that would take up most of my time. So I stayed generally pretty busy. I usually slept in the evening, so I mean my schedule went, go to work at I work 11 to 7. I get off, I come home, go to bed. Or well now I do, but I go get when she gets up, I watch her throughout the day. Once my wife got home from work, I'd go to bed. That was that for a while, but now it's just kind of weird to have her be home for so long, and now I just don't have. At this point, I just don't have enough keeping me busy.
Hmm.
I'm ready for. Um, I don't know. I myself, I think I'm ready for cons to come back. Just I understand the need to keep them away.
Yeah.
Like it's really understandable. Like because I went. There was one convention I did go to last year, and it was like I want to say June or July, and I can't believe they still had it. To be honest, it was at
Hmm.
Days of the Dead in
Oh
Indianapolis.
yeah. Hmm.
And they still had it. Like people were saying they shouldn't have it. They're not supposed to have it. I'm like, I mean, it's not canceled. They're not saying it's canceled, but I mean, it
Right.
was small.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And that's the thing. Like, it's going to be hard. And again, I know we'll get back to it. I know we will. And I'm looking forward to that too, especially for all the people to go to them and hang out, and as well as for vendors to be there and sell their stuff and have a chance to. Um, I mean, hell, even if, depending, I mean, obviously we're not doing shows probably this year, but even next year, if I end up just going to a couple shows myself to hang out, that would be fun,
oh yeah, of course.
because I do love hanging out with my friends. I mean, that's the best part of it, meeting customers and hanging out with friends. I mean, that really is just the best part.
And I mean, that's like if I could just go to a convention, like just to just see people, not even like you go to a convention, like if they have a con just to help support smaller, vendors and everything. Because I think I was talking to Nathan about that for, you know, say we can't have, say the guests don't come or we can't have
Hmm.
guests or, they all cancel to even have a smaller convention with to just help out with like the smaller vendors. I mean, that
Yeah.
would be because a lot of those smaller vendors, I mean, they almost survive off of conventions and
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing that worried me the most last year. I just felt bad for my friends that
yeah,
did, and them. Like it was so nice to see so many wonderful posts from people about supporting small businesses, and because most, because of conventions and stuff. And you know it's funny because people would lump us in there, which was amazing, and I always appreciate that. Any time that people tag us and stuff like that is amazing. But part of me was like, no, if you really want to support people that have been put out because of conventions and stuff, support those people. Like
yeah,
we're okay.
yes,
I mean, that's great. Listen, I love the support, believe me, but it's like I want to make sure that if these other vendors that maybe, I mean, have their website but mostly relied on conventions, support
yeah,
them. They need it.
they're not as they're still up and coming,
Yeah.
not quite established yet, but they're getting their foot in the door, and
Right.
sometimes just one convention can mean the world to them.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
I think I was great with like when Horror Hound was initially canceled, they put that post on
Yeah.
the Horror Hound page to like they had like all the websites for all the
Hmm.
vendors, and I think that was great. I think that definitely, hopefully, helped out a lot of people.
Yeah, it brings, helps bring awareness, and maybe there was a company you might not have heard of or thought of until you were going to go to the show, and then you see their link there because there was no show to go to, and you were able to see them and buy. So hopefully, those things they mean a lot.
Yeah, I feel like because I was on Facebook yesterday evening and I saw that Horror Hound Weekend had posted the thing for March, and I was like, oh, they're
Mm.
thinking they might have it this time, but I feel like it might, because Ohio's been very topsy turvy when it comes to
Yeah,
their
I've
uh,
heard.
lines and everything. Like one day or one week, it'll be like everything's shut down, and the next week, it's not as bad, I guess.
Hmm.
But it's just so weird. Like I think because obviously it's at the Sharonville Convention Center, which you got to think. I mean, that place is really widespread. I mean, if they limit capacity to a certain degree,
Hmm.
I mean, it could happen, but I don't feel like it would feel the same.
Yeah,
I mean, because you want like I mean, once all this stuff clears up and cons come back, I mean, people are gonna go
yeah. I think.
crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're
I
going to
was
come out en masse for sure.
I was thinking about that last night at work. I was like, oh my gosh, can you imagine once conventions come back, like the floods of people that are gonna be pouring into these things, like,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be great though. I mean, because it's gonna be great to see all these people back again. Because I mean, the last time I saw you in person, I want to say was March of
2019.
19
Yeah.
when Candy Corn premiered.
Yep. God,
And
that would be 2 years ago in 2 months.
yeah, I know
That's
it's
it.
insane.
It's weird. 2020 became this like weird lost year where now like things that happened like a concert or a convention now becomes 2 years ago. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, oh yeah, the last time I was at Horror Hound was now 2 years ago, not just
yeah,
last year. Because it's wiped away.
yeah. I was gonna say, I think you were at the Indianapolis show that September, but I don't
Yeah,
know if
we were there. We were there. Yeah, at the indie show that September 2019. We were right there as you walked in. We were at
yeah.
like the table right in the front. Yeah.
I think I bought some socks.
Mm.
I think I got uh, the Halloween 3,
Oh yeah.
the mask socks and the glow in the dark Myers socks. I remember that now.
Nice.
I need to get me a new pair of. I've worn the pumpkin and the knife socks. I've
Oh
worn
yeah.
so many. Like they don't even look like my wife's always like, why don't you get some regular socks? Those things look worn out. Like you can't even tell what they are anymore. I'm like, I will wear these things until I can't wear them anymore.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll redo them this year. I'm not sure, but it's
I know
possible.
they've been on the site like every once in a while. I've noticed like
Yeah, if we find extras, we'll pop them back up. Or I think we've reprinted those a few times. Same with the
yeah.
dark ones. We're always, maybe we'll do different ones this year. I'm not sure. I mean, we've got a lot planned for the fall, but there's always things always change and move around.
So speaking of like future, like fall and stuff like that. So obviously you had your preview. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to be more collections than were shown in that
Oh
video.
yeah, there's a lot more actually. In fact, when I went back to that video, I was like, oh, we didn't show this. Like there was a few things that we hadn't shown. Um, we, I've pretty much got a collection planned every week out for the rest of the year, um, placeholder wise, and some of them are second collections of things we've already done. And again, we plan ahead as much as we can, but things always change. We just try to at least fill the hopper with a bunch of stuff, and then if things have to move around, we have that flexibility. And also opportunities and things come up when you least expect them. So there'll be times when, I could probably go back to some notes pre 2020, and there's things that I would have not been able to have predicted or thought we would have done, not just because of COVID, but I just mean in terms of releases and stuff. Because a lot of that stuff really, some was uh, kind of because of COVID, in terms of things that got shifted around or new things that came up. But most of the stuff I could look at and go, oh yeah, wow, I wouldn't have predicted that. So
Yeah.
I always want to keep I want to plan as much as we can, but I don't want to be so rigid that we can't move things around if there's the right opportunity. And that's the other thing, is trying to sort of, oh, what's up, Jed? It's funny. That's another one. Just saw Jed pop in there about host. We're doing the host shirt, next week,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
exciting. And that was something that kind of came up, and it took a little while to figure out, but we did it, and I was so grateful that he, talked to us about it. And so there are things, again, that if it comes up and we can kind of look at it and go, oh no, we really should do this. Let's fit it in. But we also aren't like out there seeking stuff because we've got a lot to work on as well.
Yeah. Um, I was thinking of like, what's one that I don't think you've tackled yet, but one would be really cool would be Night of the Creeps.
So we did, we've done homage shirts to that film. Part of the reason why they haven't been necessarily full blown collections, and because that license is a weird one. It's hard. That one's sort of in this odd limbo. There are a couple films, honestly, that we've done in the past, or ones that we stay away from because they're in a weird limbo. Like, the people you think own them, or the companies you think own them, don't own them. So
Huh.
they're not claiming ownership. So you're like, oh, okay. So if you don't own it, like, they might have put out the home video release, but sometimes merch is a different deal, right? So it's like, okay, you thought they would own it, they don't. So okay, what about this person? What about this? And you do all the work, and no one's saying they own it, and you're like, well, you know, and again, we don't. I could literally count on my hand the times we've done this, over the years. But like, aside from other things, but like in more recent times where we just kind of would put out a shirt, and if, listen, if someone's going to say something, then we'd be happy to get a license for it, But we do everything we can. There are definitely other films that we aren't able to get the license for, but we know who has it, so we will not do a release for that because we just would rather wait until we can get a license for it. Because we know who to go to. They're just not giving it up yet or giving it to us. So we'll wait. We don't want to do it unlicensed. But in the cases where it's like we've literally uncovered as many stones as we can, once in a while we'll throw a shirt out there and be like, okay, again, if someone sees it and claims ownership, we would be happy to pay. We're not trying to get away with anything, but sometimes we got to put the line out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So
Gold.
speaking of, let me think of other products. So, for instance, like trading your wax packs. Are there any of those in the future? Or
Yeah, so wax packs have been a lot of fun. They've been a challenge. Again, when you get the rights to something, you don't always get, the ability to do whatever you want. There's a lot of things that come into play. So, for example, we actually still have, I think, technically the rights to do a lot of different trading cards for a lot of great movies, but we can literally not use any images from the movie or likenesses. And so you're left with 4 or 5 images that have been approved by the studio. And I'm like, I can't make an 80 card set out of this because we need more.
yeah,
And we just cannot use anything from them. Like Jaws is a great example. We, in theory, on paper, could do a Jaws trading card set, but we are literally only allowed to use the shark. And I can't have 80 cards of the shark. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So
that's
yeah, because we don't have likeness rights for that. There are no likeness rights. In fact, NECA is putting out the Quint figure, which is great, but they had to go through a separate estate just to get that permission in order to do what the draws. And there's no way, it would just be too complex and hard to do. So anyway, to answer your question, yes, we do have more trading card sets coming. There's one coming this year and one coming next year. Next year is the 40th anniversary of a film that we're doing a really cool set for that we haven't started yet, but we have ideas and some really cool things. This year, coming actually in March, we have the Day of the Dead trading card set coming, which is great because we've already done Night of the Living Dead, which was last year. We did Dawn of the Dead a few years ago, and we're able to do the Day of the Dead set. In fact, luckily, we were way ahead of things, and we actually got them delivered to us today. So we actually have them in our
Oh
hands
wow.
right now, which is amazing. Usually it's never that early, but we were able to get things moving and great because there's literally like one person that does this type of work that can do the wax packs and stuff like that. You're gonna need a bigger license. That's funny. Um, Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments here. I know they're coming in. So we were able to get some great autographs for this one. We were extremely fortunate to work with Gary Clark before he passed. This was late in the fall that we were trying to get autographs, and I had no idea he was sick. And through our person to help us get the autographs had mentioned that. I said, "Oh, just let me know." And apparently his wife was like, "No, he can do it." I'm like, "Okay, whatever you need." And we sent him the cards, and he was gracious enough and signed them. And I honestly didn't know how sick he was, and he passed, recently, and that was just sad. He was such a nice guy whenever I met him, which has been a couple times in the past. But got some great autographs for that one and some behind the scenes stuff, some really cool things. So I'm excited about it.
Very cool. I'm reading some of the comments here.
Yeah.
Wax pack, trick or treat, or Krampus. That would be cool. People guessing.
So it's not the thing again because of likeness issues. I will tell you will be 40th anniversary collection of the thing, but we've already got more thing stuff coming out in just a couple months, so you won't even have to wait till next year. Krampus and Treat would be amazing, but there are some likeness issues with that as well. So we tried, and we've worked really close with Mike Doherty too. He's an awesome dude, but just legal wise, we just can't do it using the people. So that's a really hard one to get around. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a stab.
1982.
1982, Halloween 3.
No, but we have more planned for the 40th. Again, similar issue with the likeness.
I'm yeah, I was talking. I think what's his username's Teases. What's his actual name?
Oh, Steve. Yeah.
Steve. He because he's the guy who does all your hats and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
He was hinting at a Halloween 3 hat at one point.
Oh, we're working on that. That'll be out here. Yeah, he's been doing all of our hats, and shout out to Steve because he's amazing.
He's done some excellent work. Like
he's
obviously this one. I have the Evil Dead hat. The first Halloween hat you launched, the baseball cap.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course the palm beanie and
Yeah, that was actually the one you're wearing. That was the first one he did for us. The other baseball
oh,
cap one we did kind of on our own, and hats were something that we had done a little bit here and there, and they were successful, but we never. It was just one of those things where I'm like, I didn't know that world as much, and Steve and I had been friends for a while and talked all the time, and I knew he could design things like that, and honestly, like he's listening while he's working. He we just went over some things and he had some ideas, and I was like, this is incredible because he can work with our factory as sort of a liaison and kind of really he's just been great. He's been great as a part of the team doing this stuff, and he's really elevated our hat game, and I've been super excited. And we've got other things we're working on this year aside from hats. We've got a couple other categories that we haven't even come close to announcing to people yet that we are already working on. Hopefully for the summer, there's a couple new categories and other things that we've got going on. So,
shirts.
I mean, I can't say anything right now, but
Yes, right.
some really cool stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting it's like it's a playground. You get these properties, movies that I love so much, Halloween, The Thing, Halloween 3 or whatever, just Creep Show, all these, and to be able to just kind of think of new and interesting things to make out of these, whether it's a new t-shirt or how can we look at something differently, and that's what we're oh, someone got it. Someone got the 40th anniversary. It is Creep Show.
That did come out in 1982.
Yeah, and again, that won't be in. Yeah, well, clearly won't be until next year because that's 2022. But that is the one that we are going to be working on this year to do. So that'll be fun. And these things do take a while. I mean, Liz, who is our customer service person, she she does all the research for the cards. She does all the screen grabs, all the stuff. And then between her and Jess, they write all the copy, and Joe, our designer, does all the designs for it. And it takes a while. I mean, it's a process, you know. So it's hard to do more than almost more than one a year. But just in terms of logistics, and again, like I said before, likenesses and stuff, it does limit us to what we are able to do.
That'll be a big 6. I mean, that's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, and we've actually got it's not even just the screen grabs and stuff, but that we've got exclusive, never before seen images. There's a lot of things that we've got that it's going to make this set really cool.
Interesting. So will there be more of these?
Oh yeah. In fact, we've got, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 new beanies coming out in just a couple weeks.
Oh wow.
And they are awesome. Steve did an amazing job. There's some really awesome properties, popular ones that we've already, you know, done shirts and other things for. So really stoked to see to see these out in the wild. I've had the samples for a while. In fact, it's funny, you know, my son's been wearing a couple of them around, and I wear them around and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till these finally come out.
I can't wear this in public yet.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone spots me, they're gonna see some now. It's
What's
fun.
that, Ben?
Yeah, it's fun though. I'm telling you, it's cool, especially when we get samples of the stuff, because I feel like, again, if it gets me like excited, or us in the office when we see it, when we open it, we're all like, oh my god, look at this. Like, you feel like you're onto something, you know. You feel like, okay, this is a good barometer, you know.
Definitely. It's kind of like I'm still kind of getting used to figuring out what it is I'm actually doing with this page. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to just specifically, because I mean, there's so many different, you know, horror like specific pages, and I kind of wanted to kind of branch out a little bit, have a little more
Mm-hmm.
variety. So, I mean, there's obviously I'm going to have a lot of horror stuff, because obviously I have a lot of horror stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I still wanted to, you know, connect with people that are, you know, into music, into, you know, video games here and there. I mean, I'm not a big gamer as I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Comic books, even not necessarily even horror themed, you know, like, you know, Marvel, DC, whatever. And I'm still getting used to, like I told you, I'm still kind of new to the whole. I wouldn't even call it like a podcast, like, because obviously I'm more prevalent on Instagram than I am
Mm-hmm.
even on my Facebook page.
Right.
But eventually, I think I just started I opened up a YouTube page and kind of figured, kind of play with that a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all, I mean, like, I was talking with a couple people, I'm like, so what do you think? Like, am I headed in the right direction here with what I'm doing? Or am I, you know, am I just kind of, yeah, I just don't want to be like, yeah, I know you got to stay relevant with, or relevant with what you're doing. But it's like, sometimes, like, am I wasting my own time here?
I think it's more about doing what excites you, because I'll tell you, you know, from experience, you know, when I started Fright Rags, you know, there would be weeks, 2, 3 weeks, where I wouldn't get an order, you know, and I'm sitting here with, you know, 2 boxes of shirts in my little spare room of my apartment. And you know, who am I? Like, I wasn't like, I was known anyway. Like the site was known, you know, it wasn't, and there was no social media, remember, there was no Instagram or Facebook or MySpace or any of that. So really, it was message boards and things like that. So these like silos, almost, these separate sites. So it was hard to get the name out there and build a following, you know. It was much harder, you know, to you couldn't hashtag your way to it or whatever.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's the only way to do it, but you get what I'm saying. The barrier was a little bit harder in terms of just trying to get that traction. And so there was so many times where I'd be sitting there and I'd say, you know, I'm just gonna give up. Like, uh, I'm moving into a house, you know, or we're having a kid, or whatever the, you know, the circumstance was. Maybe I should, you know, grow up and be an adult, if you will,
Yeah.
and give this up, because clearly it's not gonna pay the bills, if you will. Um, And then all of a sudden an order would come in just out of nowhere. And I'd be like, that's weird. This dude in Australia wants to buy a shirt. That's crazy.
Oh wow.
And like that one little feeling is what helped me just, I'm just gonna keep doing it. And all those nights and those early mornings and writing emails or, packing orders or not having orders to pack, but trying to work on designs or ideas or whatever it was, no one saw that. You know what I mean? Like you do you do it because you love it, not because you think anyone's looking or paying attention. You still do it, even when no one's looking. You do it when there's no one else around. Um, and I think it was Seth Godin that said, he's really one of my favorite marketers. Stuff. I think it was him that said, it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. Again, we've gotten to a certain point with this business, and I'm incredibly fortunate for that, where people know us, or I've gotten recognized places, or just whatever. We have a business that we can profit from, so we can make, I can employ people and I can make a living. But people are like, oh yeah, it must be easier or whatever. Not that they're condescending, but they say things like, and I'm like, yeah, but you have no idea what, you still have to get through doing it. So I guess my roundabout rambling point to all this is, do what you want to do. Don't worry about what it might look like or what you think you should be doing.
Yeah.
If it's something that, if the core of it is what you want to do, then keep doing it. Now, still listen to feedback and try to, always improve. But if it's still what you want to do, don't stop. Don't stop doing it, because it may take a while, excuse me. But if doing what you're doing right now is like, no, I still like it, I just don't know where it's going, or don't worry about that. Just keep doing it. And improving, and always trying to improve, and learning. Like, I've never learned more in my entire life, all the years of school and college and stuff, than I have running a business. And it is so multifaceted in ways that I'm learning something new every single day. And there are things that I feel like other people must have had figured out by now, and I'm just late to the party. I always feel like that. So it's always the sense of everybody else knows what they're doing and I don't, even though, I don't think that's entirely true, but it's good to feel that way, because it always feels like there's more to know. Because the day you feel like you know everything, forget it. Forget it.
There's always something out there that you've not yet learned.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been at a job since 2013. I mean, I could say I know everything there is to know about the job, but I mean, I might go into work the next day and something happens that I've never come across before.
Yeah.
There's a manual on this.
Yeah. And your ability to figure it out on the fly and things, those are skills, man. And like, I always like surrounding myself with people who know way more than I do about anything, because when you're the dumbest person in the room, there's so much more to learn,
Yeah.
And that's how I like it. I always love talking to people who want advice, and that's great. I'm always willing to give it, but I also love learning about stuff, and there'll be something in an email someone will send me, like a company for licensing, and it'll be a word in there. I'm like, wait a minute, I've never seen that one before. What do they mean by that? I'll start researching it. Oh, okay, this is what that means. Oh, I've never even heard of this whole, and then you start like doing this research.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about, what I'm doing, but just in terms of what you want to do, just keep learning.
Yeah, I think that's initially what I'll just have to, I'll just have to keep, making just random videos, if it's maybe an unboxing or like just a random review or something,
Mm-hmm.
just to get used to talking. I think is the biggest thing, is just getting used to talking on a camera or whatever, just people hearing my voice and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's just weird to me, because I'm not used to, talking to a bunch of people. I'm used to talking to, just a couple people at a time maybe, but like, having an audience.
Yeah.
That's just, I'm not necessarily stage fright, just like I don't know how to present myself, I guess, is the thing.
But it comes with experimentation and figuring out what works and what doesn't. What was the feedback you got or didn't get or whatever, and it's switching it up. use this as an example, and whether you like him or not, it doesn't really matter. But like Joe Rogan, for example, obviously he's been a stand-up comedian for a long time, but clearly, just again, like him or hate him, it doesn't matter. He's just got $100 million from Spotify, for his podcast.
Yeah.
And if you go back and if you watch his podcast again, you might not agree with him or the people he has on, but it's polished and it's very smooth or whatever. And you go, well, of course, he got whatever, this money or whatever. But he's done what? He's on like 1,800 episodes or whatever it is at this point. If you go back to the first one 15 plus years ago or whenever it was, I don't even know, it was horrible. And he even said how horrible it was. And but think about, and again, yeah, he's a stand-up comedian, so he already had experience talking to people, but it didn't matter. Podcasting's a different thing. It's not stand-up. You're having a conversation. So watching the trajectory of how that works, and seeing just him as an example, and you can apply this to pretty much anybody out there, how they've grown and evolved because it takes time. I mean, it's not like our website looks like it did in 2003. You know what I mean? Like that, that's one example, or designs for that matter,
Yeah.
But someone like him is just an example. He, again, it was, you look at those early podcasts and it was pretty rough, not even just in the video production, but the actual interviewing. And he learned, oh, I should listen more, or I shouldn't talk here, and things like that,
Definitely. Well, my phone is, I think, getting low on battery. So I like literally a couple minutes ago, it said 20%. Like,
oh, no.
Phone, like when we started, it was on 96% maybe.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I don't even know. I honestly don't even know what time it is right now.
It's like 6:37, my phone says, but.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for letting me jump on here and just chat it up with you. I mean, like I said, I was talking to you about it. Like it was an interview, so to speak, but it was also like, just having a conversation with somebody. Like I'm initially, like, because we were talking about conventions, like not seeing people and everything. It's like initially, I think this is why I like doing this, because I get to want face to face people I haven't seen for almost 2 years. So it's great. It's great to finally get to chat with people and meet new people, for that matter.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I loved. And I see a lot of the comments. So if anybody's still listening, if you want to DM me any questions you have that we couldn't get to, that's cool. I can answer them just right here on DM. But no, I appreciate you having me, and it's great just to have a conversation, like you said. Talking to people I haven't seen in a while, like obviously not in person, but as close to in person as we can get right now.
Exactly. I mean, and that's if that's what we can have right now, I mean, that's what we get, and it's still great. It's a lot of fun, and so. Like I said, thanks again for letting me have you on here.
Thanks,
hopefully, Shane. You have a great weekend and get some sleep.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I remember what it was like having a 2-year-old, so I know.
Again, I have a newborn coming in March. So.
Oh, congratulations! That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be definitely a little hectic. It's gonna be a little hectic around here.
Yeah, that's yeah. My kids are 14 and 11 now, so it's definitely a different time period, but it's still crazy. But yeah, 2 and newborn. I remember those days, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody who's still here listening. Thank you for sticking with us. And hopefully we have you on again sometime, for sure.
Hi, man. I'd love it.
Well, you have a good night, sir, and I will see you later.
Take care. Take care, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
All right.